Bleach. A drink to some, a show to others. Throughout its entire run, Bleach is probably best known as being the show where people wield swords and look cool. But you know what's cooler than wielding one sword? Wielding two. That's right, today we're going to be talking about the ever-elusive dual Zanpakuto. So be sure to like and subscribe because in this video, I'm going over every single dual Zanpakuto we've ever seen. Starting off with our main character, we have Ichigo Kurosaki. In the 1000-Year Blood War, Ichigo gets his true Zanpakuto after coming to understand the true nature of the spirits inside of him. Namely, that old man Zangetsu is his quincy powers, and that white is the combination of his shinigami and hollow powers. This manifested in a dual Zanpakuto, with a larger sword representing the shinigami and hollow half, with the smaller sword representing his quincy powers. His dual Zanpakuto also gave him the added ability of Getsuga Jujisho, which is basically two Getsuga Tenshos at a cross section. Also, when he used his Bankai, it was by combining the two swords to create his Bankai and the sheath surrounding it. Next up, we get Jushiro Ukitake, the ever-sick captain of the 13th Division. And I mean that literally, this man is literally on his deathbed 24/7. His Shikai revealed two swords connected by a rope in which he absorbs attacks through one sword and sends it back out through the other, but with different speeds and pressure. Now, the reason Jushiro Ukitake has two Zanpakuto spirits is confirmed to be a direct result of his illness. You see, more specifically, when he was a child, his parents prayed at the altar of Mimihagi, and as such, the right hand of the Soul King came to infuse itself into Ukitake's body. This also had the unintended effect of giving him a dual Zanpakuto, likely due to him holding within him both his soul and that of Mimihagi. This is especially interesting since Kyoraku notes that a dual-type nature cannot happen naturally with Zanpakuto, which is especially interesting since he also has a dual Zanpakuto. As such, let's talk about him next. Commander Shunsui Kyoraku was, along with Ukitake, one of the first people in the story to be shown wielding a dual Zanpakuto. But where did the second blade come from? Well, we find out in the 1000-Year Blood War that Shunsui at one point created the second Zanpakuto to guard the Shinken Hakyoken, and a prevalent fan theory is that he slept with his Zanpakuto spirit in order to do this. And low-key, wouldn't we all? And look, I'm not trying to say for certain that Shunsui slept with his sword. All I'm trying to say is that according to the Maya, we know for certain that someone did. And the way Shunsui and his Zanpakuto spirit interact does seem quite flirty. And we know he did create the second smaller Zanpakuto, which does take the form of a little girl. And it was literally said that Ohana, aka Katen, gave birth to Okyo, aka Kyokotsu. So while it is only a theory, it just might hold water. It is also possible he created the second Zanpakuto using a piece of the first. I say this due to Katen having an eye patch over her right eye, and the other one, Kokotsu, her face is literally only an eye. There's also the argument here that Zanpakuto spirits seem to appear different when they're in Bankai, with the cases we've seen typically making them appear younger. So it is possible he just split these forms into two. Long story short, we know for certain that Shunsui created his second Zanpakuto in order to hide the Shinken Hakyoken, and that Katen birthed Kyokotsu. But what this process entailed is a bit more up for discussion, so be sure to let me know what your thoughts are on the matter. Moving on, we get to the protagonist of the Can't Fear Your Own World novels, the vice captain of the 9th Division, Shuhei Hisagi. He's typically not the first person you think of when you hear the words dual Zanpakuto, but he clearly does have two blades on his Shikai. This was actually addressed in the novels, in which it's explained that Hisagi's Zanpakuto isn't the blades itself, but actually the chain connecting the two. In short, he does not wield a dual Zanpakuto, he wields a chain Zanpakuto that happens to have more than one blade on it. I guess I should also mention Kusaka from the Diamond Dusk Rebellion, in which he also had Hyorimaru for some reason, but I'm pretty sure that he and Hitsugaya just had incredibly similar abilities by some random coincidence. And besides, that's just a movie, so that's all I'm gonna say on that. Anyways, while we're on the topic of dual Zanpakutos, there are some people who appear to have more than one Zanpakuto spirit, but only one Zanpakuto. Those people are most notably Kenpachi and Renji. To go over these cases quickly, while some might be under the impression that Ichigo is Kenpachi's Zanpakuto spirit, the truth is actually a little more complicated. Kenpachi's Zanpakuto spirit is actually an adult woman named Nozarashi. The girl we know as the Ichigo was part of this spirit that Nozarashi forcefully removed from herself and sent to the real world in order to communicate with Kenpachi. This was probably the part that controlled the Bankai, seeing as how she reappears when Kenpachi uses Bankai. As for why she looks so young, it's possible that Zanpakuto spirits change their appearance when they go into Bankai. Kinda like Zangetsu and Tensa Zangetsu, although that was a weird case since that wasn't technically a Zanpakuto spirit. And honestly, this is just speculation coming from Kubo's phrasing here. It is also possible she looks like this simply because she was only part of Nozarashi, kinda like how Neliel became Nell when she was leaking spirit energy. Regardless, Ichigo is also further complicated because when Kenpachi gave her the name Ichigo, she gained a Zanpakuto of her own. This is of course because names hold powers in Bleach, as seen by Ichibe, and by the fact that saying a Zanpakuto's name wrong changes its abilities, as we've seen with Renji and Yumichika. Anyways, this is why Kenpachi's Beyond Bankai form is so similar to Ichiro's Shikai, because in that non-canon form, when he becomes one with his blade, he also becomes one with the Shikai that was granted to Ichiro. Overall, this case is quite weird and circumstantial, but Kenpachi doesn't really have two Zanpakuto spirits. He has one Zanpakuto spirit that is kinda sorta split in two. The adult Nozarashi that he heard the voice of, and Ichigo, who is most likely in charge of the Bankai. Although if you really want to get technical, you can argue that Kenpachi technically had a dual Zanpakuto at one point, since he technically has his own Zanpakuto, and Ichigo had her Shikai, and I guess Ichigo was technically a part of him. But that's a bit too semantical for my taste. Anyways, as for Renji, his Zanpakuto spirit Zabimaru appears to be a chimera of sorts, reminiscent of a noone, or a creature with the body of a monkey and a snake tail. There's also an omaki in both the manga and anime, in which Mayuri offers to give his Zanpakuto a sex change operation. I'm telling you, Mayuri may just be doing some random stuff sometimes. And at least according to the anime filler, Renji seems to have gone through with the procedure. I think the confusion with Zabimaru is best exemplified in the Zanpakuto's anthropomorphic form, as the monkey and snake seem to be separate spirits only connected by a chain. But in truth, it is not that he has two Zanpakuto spirits, it is one spirit that has two parts, the monkey part and the snake part, although each one does appear to have its own sentience. If the Zanpakuto spirit is the reflection of one's soul, then perhaps Renji's is like this because he's of two minds about himself, partially believing in himself and partially thinking he's too weak. This will be reflected when we find out that Hihio Zabimaru was not the true name of his Bankai, as his Zanpakuto had only partially accepted it. While Hihio Zabimaru means Monkey King, Snake King, it's pretty clear from Hihiro Zabimaru's abilities that the monkey wasn't really doing much in that equation, probably because the snake accepted him more than the monkey did. While in these true Bankai Soho Zabimaru, meaning two kings, the abilities of this form equally has the aspects of both. Now, why does Renji have a weird chimera noone Zanpakuto spirit? It could just be completely random. I mean, we have seen Zanpakuto spirits take the form of mythical creatures before, like Yorimaru, who's an ice dragon, for instance. So, maybe it was just luck of the draw, right? Or, I don't know, maybe Renji was just dropped as a child. Otherwise, he's just schizophrenic or something, hearing a few too many voices in his head, am I right? But, that's just my 2 cents on the matter. Be sure to let me know what you guys think is going on here. But with this, I believe we have covered every single dual Zanpakuto in Bleach. If I missed one, be sure to let me know. But for now, that's all I got for you today, folks. Be sure to smash that subscribe button, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.